Hello, everyone. We're here to talk about better sleep basics. And my name is Jennifer Lawson. I'm known as Mother J. We'll start with our introduction, talk a little bit about the sleep cycle, talk about quality of sleep, our bedroom habits, our sleep schedule, how caffeine affects sleep, sleep aids and their side effects, tools for relaxation, and natural remedies for sleep. So a little bit about myself. This list is my bachelor's degree and my certifications, a lot of fitness, aromatherapy, and I teach a lot of Silver Sneakers, Renew Active classes. I go to senior centers and offer classes there, and we do a lot of education as well. And my saying is, we're all born of the earth, bound by and to the earth, nourished and supported by Earth's plants, animals, and minerals. Health and wellness are grown from the natural extracts of the earth and the knowledge of the soul and the practices of nature. So in other words, through healthy lifestyle choices, eating habits, all natural therapies, many of our health problems like diabetes, hypertension, or allergies can be reversed or controlled. We don't have to spend a fortune on medications or poison ourselves with pharmaceuticals, prescription drugs, or over-the-counter medications to do it. So here we go with the sleep cycle. In the image here, you can see all the stages of the sleep cycle, and then all the steps that happen to the body, or all the stages that the body goes through each part of the sleep cycle. So we'll break it down here in the next one. The first stage of the sleep cycle is the shortest stage. At this point, you're easily awakened. You're kind of dozing off. The head's falling down. The eyes are closing. Your muscles start to relax. Your head may twitch up. You'll have slow eye movements. And it doesn't last very long in this stage. So if you awaken this stage, you'll go right back into stage 1. Stage 2 is the longest stage. It takes a long time for the body to bring itself into stage 3, which is deep sleep, and then into REM. So stage 2 is the breathing and the heart rate start to become regular and steady. The body temperature goes down. The loss of sense of place, like you'll wake up and go, where am I? Wondering what happened. Your brain waves will slow down. Your eye movements stop at this point, and there's a decrease in blood pressure. So the body's starting to relax as the brain starts to bring everything into that slower brainwave stage. Then you come to stage 3, where the muscles relax, and this is the stage where the body is restored. Human growth hormone is released, tissues are grown and repaired, and energy in the cells is restored. Hormones are released. This is where melatonin would be released that would help bring you into deeper sleep and help keep you asleep. And you bring slower brain waves. So the body and the brain are calming down even more. And the brain is starting to take over. The body is almost paralyzed. So that's where we get to REM stage, which we know is rapid eye movement, which literally means the eyes are moving around behind the eyelids while we're sleeping. And this is because we are dreaming. The brain is highly active. The eyes are moving around because we're looking at things in our sleep. We're looking at things in our dreams. So the eyes are moving around reacting to that. The muscles are paralyzed. So this sometimes is where people think they've been paralyzed. They'll wake up and their muscles are weak or they're super soft. It's because the body releases hormones that stops muscle movement so that the brain can relax and continue to sleep and dream. The heartbeat and breathing are irregular because you're dreaming, you're in your dream, you're moving around. And so your heartbeat and breath rate are stimulated and changed according to what's going on in your dream. So this is not the shortest stage, but this stage depends completely upon how you went through stage 2 and stage 3. So every time we wake up, we end up back at stage 1, no matter how long we're awake for. Like, for example, we're dreaming, and then all of a sudden the cat jumps on the bed, and we're awake, and we're right back to stage 1. We have to work our way back through stage 3, and then we get to REM again. So the longer we stay in REM, the better, more quality sleep we get. And it's not good. We don't stay there the whole night. We cycle through it. We wake up a little bit, or if something changes or we roll over. We may not wake up all the way when we roll over. So we may end up back in stage 2 when we roll over and have to work our way back through stage 2 and stage 3 to get back to REM. So it's always a cycle. We don't stay in REM. It may seem like a long dream, but the REM stage is not really that long. So our quality of sleep. The quality of sleep really depends on, again, how long you stay in the REM stage or how many times you get back to it when you're woken up or as you move and toss and turn. So quality of sleep, the benefits of it are improving our learning and memory. During sleep, we commit new information to memory. And if we're not getting to that stage 3 or REM, we're not committing information to new memories or committing new information to memory. It reduces our weight gain by increasing our metabolism and reducing the amount of cortisol or the stress hormone that the body releases. So the longer you're in stage 3 and REM, the better the body is able to heal, reduces the stress hormone releases, and then also the brain function. So it increases our physical safety and performance. We're able to function and think better while working through our daily lives. Doesn't matter if we have a job or if we're just walking around the block. With more rest, we have better balance, better stability, better focus. So then it takes us to the next one, is our immune system. When we don't get enough sleep, the immune system is weakened and we tend to get sick more often, and especially if we don't get good quality sleep. Then there's that risk of injury. So if we're more stable, more clear, we're less likely to fall, trip, or do something silly and hurt ourselves. Then is our mood. If we sleep better, we're not as grouchy, irritable, emotional. So we have a better overall mood. And our emotional balance. We're more balanced and stable, less likely to start crying for no reason or get angry, have a short temper. Better sleep means more balance. And then, of course, hormone regulation. So if we get good quality sleep, it keeps our circadian rhythm going, and it keeps the hormones released at each stage when they're supposed to be. So we're staying energized and sleeping better all the way around. So good sleep promotes good sleep. So when we don't get enough sleep, there's wide-ranging effects on the body and mind. Of course, we know of car accidents. The best example is when they do daylight savings time and they take an hour away from us. That hour is huge on the number of car accidents there are because we're losing even a small amount of sleep. So when it comes to larger amounts of sleep, like insomnia and sleep deprivation, you actually lose your response time more than drinking alcohol. So your response to situations is slower and not as purposeful. So you're more likely to be injured or make a mistake. Then the next thing is aging faster. If we're not getting enough of that quality sleep between 2 and REM, the stage 2 and REM, we're not getting that human growth hormone released that helps repair and regrow cells, which includes the skin. And the less sleep we get, the more cortisol we release, which is the stress hormone. And the stress hormone dries out the skin, breaks up the elastin, makes it wrinkle more, and it dries out the hair, dries out the nails. All the way around, cortisol is really hard on the system, and the skin, hair, and nails are what show it first. So if we're getting good quality sleep, we have more time for the body to grow and heal during the rest. Then, of course, there's depression. We talked about our mood. If we're not getting enough sleep, over time, it can contribute to depression. It's either a symptom of depression or it's a cause of depression. Either way, it perpetuates itself. So if you're depressed, you're less likely to sleep well, and then you're not sleeping well, so you're becoming more depressed. So it can be a vicious cycle. And then we come to diabetes. So that brings us to cortisol and how cortisol affects the body. It affects how the body uses insulin. It affects how the body processes fats. And it affects how the body absorbs protein and utilizes protein in the muscles. So because of the imbalance of the hormones that are used in nutrient absorption and sugar metabolism, it directly affects the entire body. So chronic lack of sleep leads to inflammation in the pancreas and the liver, but then it also affects how the insulin and cortisol are in the system. So insulin's not being absorbed properly, and cortisol is being released excessively. So your body's really out of a hormone imbalance. And that's what diabetes really is a hormone imbalance. So lack of sleep can lead to that. As we continue, we think of diabetes and inflammation can lead then to heart disease. As circulatory disorders, inflammation in the circulatory system from lack of sleep, not enough time to heal and regenerate proper healthy cells, heart disease develops, which then leads to heart failure, stroke, AFib, high blood pressure, all these things together that can be remedied or at least reduced with proper sleep. So here we come with our loss of balance and coordination. If we're having trouble with our stability, a lot of times it has to do with the inner ear. And if we're not getting proper sleep, the inner ear is not getting its healing and regeneration. So it's not staying lubricated. And if it's not staying lubricated, that balance inside the ear doesn't keep us balanced. So we feel off, we feel dizzy, and then lack of sleep on the nerves. If we don't get enough sleep, the nerves aren't healing and regenerating, and so we're losing our somatosensory connections between the brain and body, which are huge for keeping us upright. They're what tell our muscles what to do to help keep us upright. So the next one may not be a big deal for some people, but it can be a big deal for others. Excuse me with a drink here. If we're not getting enough sleep, we're not producing proper hormone balance, which includes sex hormones. So it can reduce libido and our interest in all those other things associated with sex and intimacy with other people. So the next thing is memory problems. So we talked about how if we're getting a good night's sleep, the brain gets the time it needs to assimilate thoughts and actions that we took during the day so that they're memories for the next day. So in that time between stage 3 and REM, the brain is really consolidating and committing all these things to memory. And if we don't get enough of that time, it doesn't retain what we experienced during that day and does not carry it to the next day. Okay, my throat is dry. I apologize. So as we continue, we talked about poor judgment, making mistakes, making bad choices, or not being able to be as responsive, especially like driving or other situations like at work if we're in a physical labor or we control machinery at work. lack of sleep can affect our judgment in these situations, and we can have accidents, or we are not able to assess the situation properly and act wisely. So lack of sleep really affects how we protect ourselves and have safe practices. And we talked about thinking and learning disruptions. Not enough sleep, the brain cannot retain the information that we're trying to remember. It really affects thinking and learning. Not only retention of memory, but it impairs attention. So our ability to pay attention, our ability to stay alert, our ability to concentrate on a specific theme, reasoning out problems, and problem solving are all affected by a lack of sleep. And then we come to the last thing, which is really weight gain. If we're not sleeping enough, we're releasing more cortisol, and we're also not absorbing or utilizing insulin properly. So we're retaining fat from the stress hormone cortisol and causing inflammation from the excess insulin that's in the bloodstream that's not being taken up by the cells. So on both sides, we're increasing the water retention and we're increasing fat retention. So lack of sleep really affects hunger and appetite. So not only are we retaining more, but we're craving more, which then leads to retaining more. So lack of sleep really is a vicious cycle again, just like with diabetes, is where cortisol makes us crave high fat, high sugar foods. And then as we're increasing our weight, adding more fat, then we're also adding more insulin in the bloodstream, increasing the inflammation because we're eating more high carbohydrate foods. So it's going all the way around. So the first thing we can do for weight loss is get better sleep. That's not always easy. So the next section here is our bedroom habits, the things that we do in our bedroom that affect our sleep. And it's not sleeping, right? So our habits and our unconscious, our subconscious, either way, it's down in there, then we don't think about it. We really don't think it's there, and we don't think it has any control over what we're doing during our day. But when we do something over time, our habits affect our subconscious, and our subconscious learns our habits and actually starts to promote them. So that's where it comes into our bedroom habits, is if we're in bed, playing on our phone, reading a book, working on work, balancing the checkbook, eating or watching TV, the subconscious starts to learn that this is what the bed is for. The subconscious says, oh, well, we go to bed, we eat, and we play games, we watch TV, we don't sleep. So when you try and go to bed, your subconscious has said, well, we're not supposed to sleep here. This is not what it's for. So that's over time, you're actually training your subconscious to say, oh, this is what we're doing here, and that's what we're going to keep doing here. I use myself as a terrible example. Is every night after dinner, I fall asleep on the couch. And then it's very hard to fall asleep in bed because my brain thinks the couch is for sleeping. So that's our example, is think about other places where you can read or work or watch TV or play on your phone outside of the bed. Then your subconscious starts to learn that that space is not, or those activities are not for the bed, and the bed is for sleeping. So trying to make it a point to use the bed for sleep and intimacy only really helps it sink into the subconscious mind, and eventually it will be much easier to go to sleep in bed because the subconscious will say, now I know why we're here and what we're doing. So next is the bedtime rituals. The things that we do in the hour before bed really have an effect on how we go to sleep and how we stay asleep. So taking some time to relax or calm the mind before bed can really help just to get the mind to shut off and help you go to sleep. And then if you happen to get up to use the bathroom at night, you're not laying back down with your brain still running because you've calmed it down. Of course, is our electronics. because they're all backlit these days, our TVs, our phone, our computer, it's all backlit, so it affects how our brain releases melatonin. So the more time we separate ourselves from something that's backlit, the more time the brain can bring balance to that circadian rhythm or the internal clock, and thus produce the melatonin that's necessary for falling asleep. So calming the mind can be done through, meditation, reading, those kinds of things that take your mind off your day, but also calming the body. So some way to relax the muscles in the body, relax the joints, is going to help you too in getting to sleep. The environment that you're in, if it's a bright light while you're trying to relax to go to sleep, that probably won't be so easy to relax in. But if you use candles or soft light, blue light, or salt lamps, something that's calmer and not as bright, you'll find it is easier to relax in and then get yourself into bed and go to sleep. So the bedroom atmosphere, right? If our bedroom is piled up with junk everywhere, then it's not going to be very relaxing. It's not going to be easy to be able to relax in and find sleep. So if we have fewer distractions in the bedroom, the easier it is. It's going to shut the brain off and get the body to sleep. So that clutter, the stuff that's everywhere, the things that make you think of things that you need to do, maybe those should be moved somewhere else or put away, just to help the mind shut off and get to sleep. So our sleep schedule, it varies from person to person. So for me, I'm typically out on the couch about 7:30, and then I go to bed about 8, and about up between 3:30 and 4. The cats are sometimes going at 3, but so your schedule is dependent on you, what you need to do, what your lifestyle is like, all of those things. But to help you get enough or sufficient sleep and enough amount of time to sleep, it helps you to have a regular schedule. So it doesn't matter what time you go to bed, as long as you're doing that the same time almost every day. Of course, there's going to be exceptions, going out on Friday night or something like that. You're not going to go to bed at the same time. But if you have most days of the week on a regular schedule, then the body's going to say, oh, I know what we're doing at this time, and I'll be able to go to sleep. You'll wake up at your same basic time, and it just helps the internal clock know what's going on, so the body can adjust with the hormones and everything else, and you're less tired when you need to be awake. So some tips in adjusting the sleep schedule is make it small. Start with small amounts. Don't just all of a sudden say, well, now I'm going to go to bed at 9 p.m. and get up at 5 a.m. when you've been going to bed at 11. It's just going to be too huge, and you're not going to be able to do it. So they recommend typically about 15 minutes to start with, doing it gradually. So the first day is 11. The next day is 10:45, and then 10:30. Slowly working yourself up. That way the body it's not sitting there fighting you, keeping you awake when you're trying to go to bed 2 hours earlier than you normally would. The increments really help you adjust over time. Consistency is huge. So again, sticking with the same basic schedule most days of the week. If you're trying to adjust your schedule, you may even want to do it every day of the week until you get it adjusted, and then you can have your days that aren't on schedule. Keep the room dark. Our circadian rhythms, our clocks are influenced directly by daylight and darkness. Lights inside the house do have an effect, but sunlight has an even greater effect. But darkness really helps us get to sleep. If we're sleeping with lights on, it's going to be much harder for you to get that melatonin going and get to that REM stage. If you can't get to sleep, instead of tossing and turning, fighting with yourself, get up and do something relaxing. try some stretching, some deep breathing, some reading, something that's not going to be stimulating. The snooze button is huge. The more often we press that snooze button, we start over again in stage 1 of sleep, and we may make it to REM in that 10 minutes of snoozing, but then we're going to have to be yanked right back out of it when the alarm goes off again. So you're not getting a good rest, and you're not actually getting anywhere. It's just yanking you right back out of sleep. It's not a great rest. So instead of pressing the snooze button, just set the alarm when you want to get up and get up. I know that's hard sometimes. Then the sleep hygiene rules. So this one can be huge, and we don't consider caffeine, but caffeine has long-term effects on the body. So the first thing is if you drink caffeine, to stop drinking caffeine about 12 hours before bedtime, right? That's a long time. If you're thinking about it, you're having coffee at 8 a.m. If you're going to bed at 8 p.m., you really can't have any more coffee after 8 a.m. because that's how long the caffeine stays in your system. And exercise. Whenever we're exercising, moving around, we're releasing stimulating hormones, endorphins, which increase our heart rate and stimulate our brain function. So it's harder to go to sleep right after exercise because of how those hormones are stimulated. So give yourself some time to unwind before bed, without mental or physical stimulation. The after dinner drowsiness, that's where my fault is. I fall asleep on the couch after dinner. This really interferes with getting to sleep and staying asleep and having that good sleep schedule, getting into that stage 3 and REM sleep. So get up, do something mildly stimulating, like anything, folding laundry or anything. We've been getting outside and trying to do some gardening, but any way to get up and stay awake until bedtime will help you keep on that schedule. Another thing is, a lot of people find that they wake up with their stomach growling like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and that can wake you up and interfere with your sleep. Most people don't get up and have a snack then, but some people do. So if you do, it might be a great idea to have a snack before bed. And yes, you can have a snack before bed. It's really more about the type of snack and how much of it, right? So a light snack is a small snack, like a half a sandwich, a small, like a half a cup of cereal or granola, a whole banana. But we're really thinking of something just to give you some carbohydrates and some protein that help maintain your blood sugar level until it's time to wake up. That's really all we're trying for. And especially with diabetics, they find it much harder to keep that blood sugar level all the way through sleep, so that we don't realize that when our blood sugar goes down, it can wake us up, and we don't realize that that's what's interfering with our sleep. So having a snack before bed can definitely help keep the blood sugar level throughout sleep and help you make it through the night. So then there's exercise. The more we exercise, the more we wear out the body. And the more the body's worn out, the more likely it's going to help relax and allow the brain to sleep. So if a big example of this is restless leg syndrome, a lot of times the legs are twitching and hopping and just won't relax because the muscles didn't get much activity. And so they still have all this energy to fire off. And they're doing it while you're trying to sleep. So if you're burning off that energy in the muscles throughout the day, then it's not going to be there when you go to bed at night. And again, exercise does not have to be hours on end. It can be 20 to 30 minutes per day and not all at once. If you happen to be at work at a desk all day, taking your 15-minute break and taking a walk. That's great. You're working the body, you're moving the muscles, and you're going to help remove that excess energy that's going to stick around at night. So, getting more sleep is also considering is exercising earlier. The later we exercise, the more we have those stimulating hormones and the higher the body temperature. So it typically takes the body temperature to go back down. Even if it's just 1 or 2 degrees, the body temperature lowers back down about 6 hours after exercise. And we know as we fall asleep, the body cools down. So stopping exercise a little bit of more time before bed gives your body more time to cool down so that it's able to relax and you're able to get to sleep. And so we've talked about our slumber surroundings, right? The bedroom should be a comfortable, clutter-free, relaxing place. Brainstorming or worrying. If we can't postpone it, write it down. Put it on something. Anything to get it off your brain so you can go to sleep. And turning off the TV. These backlit, everything that's backlit reduces the melatonin production, and they call it social jet lag, meaning that over time, your brain feels like it's in a different time zone because it's not sleeping when you feel like you're sleeping. You're just not getting down into those deep stages. So you're just not getting quality sleep, which affects the body. You feel tired, you feel worn, so it feels like jet lag. Okay, so here's caffeine. We mentioned it earlier. Caffeine is a drug. It is a stimulant that works just like, darn it, where'd it go? So it's an adenosine receptor antagonist, meaning that it blocks adenosine from going to the brain, which is a hormone, an enzyme that promotes the hormones released for sleeping. So it blocks the receptor that starts the cascade effect of hormones to take you to sleep. So caffeine stimulates you. It is considered moderately effective. It can have an effect on your reaction times, mood, and mental performance. So if you're using caffeine in just small amounts each day, you can find it really improves your mental and physical performance. And the average dose is 50 milligrams to 200 milligrams, depending on the person. So now this is the word I was looking for, was amphetamines. So caffeine is an amphetamine. It is a stimulant. So in small amounts, it doesn't have large effects, but in large amounts, it has large, wide-ranging effects. Just like if you were taking a methamphetamine or, what was the other one? Boy, I've lost it. But those strong stimulants. So caffeine, when consumed daily, your body begins to adapt to it. You build up a tolerance to it. So over time, the more you use caffeine, the more you need to use caffeine. So if you're just having a cup of coffee in the morning, you're not using it to wake up, you're not using it to keep going, then you're not going to develop this tolerance to it. But if you're drinking multiple cups throughout the day and you're telling yourself, I got to have coffee so I can get going, that's where it really starts to build up and it's not as effective. So there is some discrepancy on how fast your body uses caffeine. It depends mostly on your metabolism. So if you have a slower metabolism, it takes longer for it to get out of your system. A faster metabolism, less time. And person to person again. So it reaches its peak level in your blood after drinking the coffee or tea. After ingesting the caffeine, 30 to 60 minutes, it's at its peak level, at its highest level in your bloodstream. On average, between 3 to 5 hours, half of that caffeine is still in your bloodstream. So if you're having another cup of coffee at 5 hours after that, now you just added more caffeine into the system, and then you're never getting the caffeine out. So that's where we continue here, is the effect of caffeine. It has direct effect on your ability to get to sleep and stay asleep. So a study found that if you consume caffeine 6 hours before bedtime, you lose a full hour of quality sleep. So if you're having caffeine 2 hours before bedtime, can you imagine how much more it's affecting your ability to go to sleep and stay asleep? And as we get older, and children as well, but as we get older, it takes longer for the body to process the caffeine, really no matter the speed of the metabolism, because aging bodies just don't work through nutrients. The metabolism just doesn't function as well. So it takes longer for everything to go through it. So every time you consume caffeine, it adds to what may already be in your system. So that's where you've had caffeine at 8 a.m., 5 hours later, you still have, okay, we'll start at the beginning. You have 50 milligrams of caffeine at 8 a.m., 5 hours later at 1 p.m., you still have 25 milligrams of coffee in your bloodstream, or caffeine in your bloodstream. And still, then you're going to have another cup. And now you're going to add another 50 milligrams to that 25. So you now have 75 milligrams of caffeine in your system. And then another 5 hours later is another half-life. So you're back to 50 milligrams of caffeine in your system. And now it's bedtime. So that's something to consider, is if we're adding to it, it never actually goes away. If you give your body an opportunity to process all of it, then you don't build up the immunity to it. So there is a point at which no amount of caffeine will make you feel energized. No matter how much you take in, it's just not going to wake you up and get you going. That is really the point where you should give up on caffeine and stop using it. So our sleep aids. These are products that help the body and mind go to sleep. There's various products that have different effects. They are over the counter or prescription. It depends. So making the decision to use a sleep aid should not be taken lightly, because they do have wide-ranging side effects on the mind and body. Most sleep aids or sleeping pills are classified as sedative hypnotics. Yes, in other words, they sedate and hypnotize the brain to try and bring you into a sleep state. So in other words, forcing the brain down into stage 1 sleep. Doesn't mean it stays there, but it brings you down to it. And they include benzodiazepines, barbiturates, and hypnotics. So the side effects. Barbiturates depress the central nervous system, and that causes sedation. So that you're bringing the firing action of the nervous system down forcefully through chemicals that brings the brain, calms it down, and hopefully brings you to sleep. They can be fatal because they are used like anesthesia, or they are similar to anesthesia. Then there's benzodiazepines, which, Xanax, Valium, Ativan, Librium. These are anti-anxiety medications, which increase drowsiness by reducing the anxiety being stimulated in the body. They affect memory and attention span because they affect how the brain is working and affect the hormones that are released during the sleep stages, which then affects memory retention during the sleep stages. Then we come to the sleep-inducing drugs, which in a way they're kind of shutting off the brain. So they're shutting off the brain's reactions to the physical environment, like Lunesta and Ambien. Sonata is another one, but we've heard of Ambien, right? People taking Ambien and sleep driving, sleep eating, sleep cooking, doing all kinds of things without even knowing it, because these drugs shut the brain off, still allowing the body to run and do whatever it wants. They're not shutting the body off. So Parasomnia, that's where the body's out doing whatever it wants and the brain has no clue. So you're basically sleepwalking. You are unaware of what is happening. So this is one of the main side effects of sleeping pills. And it really is something you should consider before even using a sleeping pill. So here's some ways to help us calm down, relax a little better so that we can get to sleep without a sleep aid. There are just some exercises that we can do. The leg stretches, or you can sit in bed or you can sit in a chair, but just a few minutes of stretching the leg, moving the toes around, flexing the foot, and breathing. It's just huge in releasing tension, calming the body down, and relaxing the mind. Then we have the ankle rotations, releasing the tension out of the ankles. Shoulder scrunches, you're releasing the tension out of the upper back and the shoulders. And while you're breathing, you're relaxing the brain. Excuse me. Then there's shoulder squeezes. It's the same basic thing as you're tightening the shoulder muscles and then releasing them to release the tension, relax them out. Now our head roll. The latest research, according to the chiropractors, is we do not want to roll our head backwards because that makes the vertebra roll against each other, rub against each other, and it can damage the vertebra in the neck. So if we bring the chin down, we can roll the head side to side, releasing the tension without rubbing the vertebra together. Then our neck twist, so just turning the head. We feel the tension in the muscles. Just gently press yourself into it. Relax it and breathe. So nothing here is forceful. We're not trying to force our body into the stretch. We're just relaxing into it. So some basic ways to calm the mind. If we've got the body with some stretching maybe, but now is deep breathing. Deep breathing can bring in more oxygen, can help the brain focus on the breath, and it helps calm the mind. They've shown that 10 deep breaths can lower high blood pressure by 10 points. Just taking 10 slow, deep breaths. So deep breathing is huge for calming the nervous system. And however you want to do it, you can count your breaths, you can count the length of your breath, or you could just listen to the air entering and leaving the lungs. All great ways to just focus on your breathing and take your mind off everything else that's driving you nuts. So the muscle relaxation, this can take it a step further. If you're having trouble relaxing the body and the mind, this is a great way to do both. So you're bringing your focus to the body, working your way up from the toes, all the way up to the face, relaxing each part with a deep breath and a release. So it's a simple technique. You're just relaxing the body, focusing on the point, the body part, like the foot, wiggle the toes, breathing into it, and then exhaling. So the next one is visualizing a peaceful, restful place. So where is your happy place? What is that place that you love to go to that makes you feel happy and calm? That's a great thing to visualize. Put yourself there in your head. And, before you know it, you'll be asleep in your bed. Rubbing the hands or the soles of the feet can be huge. If you can't reach your feet, rolling your feet on a water bottle or a rolling pin can be huge in relaxing the bottoms of the feet. We do retain a lot of tension in the feet. And then journaling. We've mentioned that before. If we can't stop thinking about something, write it down. Put it on paper, and then you tell yourself, I'll look at it tomorrow. And it really helps to just get the mind off of it. You've put it down, and then you maybe can relax and get to sleep. So our natural remedies, these are herbal remedies and essential oils and supplements that can bring relaxation to the mind and body and help you get to sleep and help you stay asleep. These are the natural options, unlike sleep aids. So aromatherapy is my go-to pretty much first on everything, is because it's non-invasive. And if you've ever used a diffuser, the essential oils diffused in the air, it's so diluted into the air molecules that you're only getting a very small amount, and you're not putting it into the body, you're just breathing it in. So it's a very small amount that's going into the body through the nose. But it also can be used on the body, you know, a relaxing oil blend in a massage, or a oil blend in the bathtub, or spraying the oils on the bedding. Aromatherapy can be used in multiple ways just to calm you down through aroma, through your sense of smell. Then we have herbal teas. Herbal teas are invasive because we have to ingest them, but they're mild. They're mildly invasive. Let's put it that way. An herbal tea is an infusion in hot water of a plant material. So it's non-caffeinated, and it can be pretty much any plant, really. But when we think about herbs for sleep, we'll get that in the next section here. But herbs can be used alone or in combination, and they are very light. They're infused in water, and then you drink it. And the water absorbs the nutrients out of the tea, out of the plant, and it's highly diluted. So they're most of the time 99% water, unless you add honey or lemon, then that reduces the percentage of water. But you're still getting a large amount of water and a small amount of compound. So they're very, very useful in a light, gentle way to get yourself to sleep. There we go. Then we get to supplements. So these are usually encapsulated herbs or concentrations or even hormones. We see melatonin on the shelf at Walmart, but we don't consider is where do they get that melatonin from? It's not human. They're not taking it out of people and encapsulating it. So most commonly it's cattle, horse, or pig. That's where the melatonin is coming from, that they're extracting, putting into capsules, and then selling us to take. And it is similar. Its compound is very similar, but because it's not human, it's not perfect. So that's where supplements aren't always a great thing. And secondly, taking melatonin is not going to give you more melatonin. Your body has to produce melatonin. And that's part of the serotonin process. So it's a long hormone cascade, and it's part of the relaxation and light, circadian rhythm. So you can't force it by taking melatonin. The body has to make it happen on its own. So adding more of what the body already makes is not going to fix it. And these kinds of supplements really should be a last resort. If you're really still struggling with insomnia, you've tried all these other things, it may be time to speak to a doctor because there may be a medical reason for your insomnia. So the essential oils that help you get to sleep, I'm sure everyone knows about lavender. Lavender is calming, relaxing. It's not a sedative, but it is calming and reduces anxiety, which can help you get to sleep. Marjoram is not a sedative, but it's a muscle relaxant. So it reduces the tension in the body to help you get to sleep. Then there's chamomile, which German chamomile is a sedative. It has very strong sleep effects. Roman chamomile is gentler, which is typically chamomile tea is Roman chamomile. It's going to be gentler and sweeter, and pretty much anyone can have chamomile tea unless they're allergic to the chamomile flower, which is related to ragweed. And chamomile is also an anti-inflammatory, so it can be also pain relieving and relaxing. Then there's valerian, which valerian is a sleep aid. They've taken extracted compounds out of valerian to make Valium. So it is a sedative. It is deeply grounding, and it can have a great benefits on people with insomnia. It can really reduce the trouble getting to sleep. I guess I should say it increases the amount of time that you sleep if you're an insomniac. But valerian can have side effects. It can make you have trouble waking up in the morning. You feel a little groggy. It can kind of have a hangover kind of side effect, depending on the person again. Then there's vetiver, which is much like valerian. It is a earthy root, but it is rich and earthy. It's grounding. It helps the mind shut off. So it helps you stop with those thoughts, helps you get to sleep, and helps you stay asleep. So here's herbal teas. Chamomile tea again. You can ingest chamomile tea, help you calm down, or you can smell chamomile essential oil. Both ways, it helps the body calm down. Then there's hops. Yes, the hops that are used in beer. If you use hops in a tea, it really is a great way to bring down the anxiety, calm the nervous system, and help the body find peace. Jasmine is called the queen of the night for a reason. She helps you relax at night, except for if she's in green or black tea, because those have caffeine. But jasmine flower, jasmine essential oil are very grounding, calming, and relaxing. Then there's lavender. We can drink lavender just like we can smell it. And it's very calming internally as well as aromatically. Then there's passion flower, which they call it, it's not a sedative, but in a way, it's a central nervous system calmer or depressant, which means it reduces the firing and the anxiety that's going on in the central nervous system. But you can't take it with blood thinners because it thins the blood. So here's some supplements that are a little better for sleep, that are a little more natural. So CBD oil, we know it as cannabidiol. It's all around the country now. It's becoming, much more popular because people are finding that it actually does work. CBD is a compound that's found in hemp. It comes along with THC in marijuana plants, but in hemp plants, it does not. It's only CBD in hemp plants. So you can get only CBD without the high and get the benefits. So it's a strong anti-inflammatory, hormone balancer, mood smoother, and relaxer. So it helps you sleep. It reduces the inflammation in the joints. So I hate to call it a cure-all, but it's one of those nutrients that the body really can utilize to feel better all the way around. So then that brings us to magnesium, which is another one that if we don't get enough magnesium, we're not sleeping well, our muscles aren't functioning well, our joints are in pain, and our brain is misfiring. So if we get enough magnesium, either through food or supplementation, we sleep better, we think better, our joints work better, because magnesium is our lubricant. It's the oil that keeps everything moving. Then there's valerian, and we talked about Valium. Valerian is, it's not a chemically concentrated plant. So it's a root that they dry and they'll put in a capsule for you. And again, if you're taking large amounts, it can cause that hangover kind of feeling. So I always take half the dose, and I find I don't have that problem. Or even valerian essential oil really doesn't leave that hangover kind of feeling. It's a great way to use it. Then here's the hormones. So the amino acids like GABA and glycine, these are utilized by the body in production of the sleep hormones. So basically, amino acids can help raise the serotonin level, which the brain then uses serotonin to create melatonin, which then brings us into sleep. So that's where the amino acids can be beneficial. So like having some protein before bed can help you sleep better. But then there's melatonin. And again, melatonin is a hormone that the body makes. Just like, insulin. If we're putting it into the body because it's not functioning properly, then we're putting more in there and it doesn't mean it's getting used. So then the last one is the 5-HTTP is a derivative of the amino acid tryptophan, which we know of is in turkey. It's in all meats in varying levels. It's higher amounts of it in turkey. That's why it kind of makes us more sleepy on Thanksgiving Day. But the amino acid is used to boost the serotonin levels. Again, in meats. These amino acids, usually there are some in vegetables, but most of these come from animal proteins. So 5-HTTP is a precursor of melatonin. So if you're consuming more of the amino acids that become melatonin, then you're going to have more melatonin. But if you're just supplementing melatonin, does not mean that you're going to make more melatonin. You really have to start at the beginning because the body doesn't work that way. We can't force it into making more just by taking more. So we've got the supplements, and that's basically the end of it. Do we have any questions or comments? And my email address, if you have any questions, send me an email. And put together by me, Jennifer Lawson. And CHAFA was our partner here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Jennifer, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. We always love having you, and we appreciate you being here to talk with us about this aspect of wellness.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak about it. Yes.